We also, let's talk about the stimulus. Talk about $841 billion and what we got out of it. I know that for my district, we have now spent about $700 million. We have saved or created over 2,300 jobs. We have shovel-ready projects, that stimulus helped us, prevented us from having a second Great Depression because of the condition of the economy at the time. We have the Lilly Ledbetter legislation, which allows for, which prohibits discrimination against women in pay. On if they do the same job that a man does, and they should be able to get the same pay. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, I mean, here's what I would say to any American who hasn't decided how they're going to vote in November. You need to ask yourself, are you better off today than you were 2 years ago? And as far as a country, I say we are. As for future generations and forward thinking, I say we're much better off. Here we have a president who is winding down 2 wars. One of them we never had to be in. One of them was based on false pretenses, and the other one was mismanaged. And now we are winding those down. And look, this is about priority. This is about the priorities of this country. What are our priorities? Are they to wage war in a foreign land, destroy a culture for nothing, and then go back and dump our tax dollars into those countries to rebuild them after we bombed them to smithereens? I don't think that's what our priorities should be. Or should we refocus our priorities on this country, which is what this Democratic-led Congress has done, as well as this president. We have now focused on how we make college more affordable for all Americans, how we stop the banks from ripping off people who have to pay back these student loans. And so that's what our priorities have been more oriented toward the American people. Now, if you want to go backwards, put the car in R there. Put it in reverse. And go punch that R, okay? But I want to go forward. I want to punch that D. I want to put the car in drive. We've already driven into the ditch, okay? And now we need to get out of the ditch. And that's what this election is about. If they'll tell you, the Republicans would tell you, well, we're going to create jobs. No, you had 8 years to create jobs. And we were bleeding jobs to the tune of 700,000 to 800,000 per month. So you didn't create jobs with all of these tax credits for business. That didn't do it. What's going to do it is to look at our infrastructure in this country and realize we need to rebuild some of this. Look in this area. Look at our sewer system. Sewer systems in St. Louis over 100 years old. Your elections, you have a sizable drop-off, and particularly among African-American voters. And here's what, to offset that, what I tell my party is that give people something to vote for. Give them a reason to come out. Talk to their issues. And as we know, the issues that impact the African American community are severe. We're hovering at 20% unemployment in my district among African American males. That's unacceptable. That's why we have targeted training and job retraining money into the 1st Congressional District through the stimulus. And so I suggest to the other candidate, that you speak to those needs. You speak to that constituency group. If you have a constituency group with certain needs, what I've been taught in politics is to try to address them. Try to address those issues that impact them. But if you just think they're going to come out and vote for you because you got a D behind your name, you are fooling yourself. So I mean, look, we have, and look, the African American voter is just as sophisticated as any other voter in this country. They know when it's in their best interest to vote for somebody. And so in 12, you'll have a different scenario. You'll have a very popular president among African Americans back on the ballot. So of course, Democrats up and down the ballot will probably benefit from him being on the ballot. I just don't understand in this year why you have some of my moderate colleagues with a D behind their name running away from this president and too far to the left. People on the left think he hasn't done enough because he didn't get it done overnight. I think about what he said during the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and this kind of frames it on how people look to Obama. He said, you know, what do they expect me to do? Go get a straw and suck all the oil out of the Gulf of Mexico? I mean, basically, that's what the people have put on his shoulders. I think he's doing a great job as president, but, you know, I'm entitled to my opinion.
Next question.
After that, after Brown was elected, you started to see a different strategy where the House leadership would require Senator Reid to take the votes first and then send us a final product so that the House will then say, yeah, because we know whatever the House passes, the Senate will change. It's just the nature of the beast. So, and I used to be a state senator, but I just can't stand senators.
If the Democrats stay in control of the House, will you vote for Nancy Pelosi, or do you expect there'll be a different speaker?
I'll be voting for Nancy Pelosi. That's the speaker. That's the, you know, there's one thing that I respect is incumbency. He's not going to get me in that.
When you go back, and the Democrats do hold the House, there's a great concern that maybe the Federal Reserve is running amok. Is there anything in your plans, in your position as Congressman representing the 1st District, and in the leadership plan later with the Democrats, to rein in the Federal Reserve, or have oversight on the Federal Reserve, or auditing the Federal Reserve, or what's your thoughts on that area?
Yeah, I support a regular audit or annual audit of the Federal Reserve, and I've voted for the Ron Paul amendment twice. Once in committee when we were doing the big Wall Street reform bill, and then once on the floor. So I support an annual audit of the Federal Reserve. Pardon?
What does the Democratic Party about
well,
in the future? We're talking about if you're reelected, Congress is...
But we were successful in getting the legislation in the House. Now, what happened to it, I think Dodd in the Senate probably removed it. But I will support it again. And now, granted, I'm one vote on the banking committee, but I will stick with Ron Paul on that because I think it makes sense. Okay, I don't think any federal agency should not come under the sunshine. Okay, we need to be able to look at their operations also. When you think about what happened with TARP, the Congress passed TARP, which had a price tag of $700 billion, which I didn't vote for because it wasn't enough transparency, okay? But yet, when we passed that, simultaneously, the Federal Reserve started handing out a separate pot of $700 billion. So, and I mean, and they were telling people, you better, telling banks, you better take this money or else we'll punish you. I think that's wrong.
What about earmarks? That's been all part of this discussion about being able to identify the waste or not identifying it, and should the earmarks be totally done away with, or should there be a process by which the members of Congress know what those earmarks are before they're voted on and not put in at 12:01 on the last night before the vote's taken? What's your feeling?
I list all of what I call my appropriations requests on my official website.
You don't call them earmarks.
We don't call them
That's less pork. Back in healthcare debate, the House seemed to pretty quickly abandon single payer as part of the debate, took it off the table. Recently, Pelosi decided not to schedule a vote on the Bush tax cuts before the election. And maybe it'll come up after the election, but I'm not confident about that. So really my question is this: despite your having staked out the position of not wanting to walk the plank, has the House lost its courage?
I don't think so. I think what will happen is on November 3rd, we will begin to assess the political landscape. And then the president, who is our leader, will stake out a strategy for November 3rd till November of 2012. And he will now what I'm getting indications of is that he will start governing more if the margins are too narrow to get legislation through. He will start governing by executive order, through rules and regulations, through their secretaries, through really the executive branch fiat of government. Whether that's the best way to do it or not, I don't think so. But no, the House has not lost its courage. Now you may have to find a new tack as far as how you get some of your goals accomplished. Look, the House is a microcosm of America. The people that make up the House are a snapshot of who we are as a country. You come from all the regions. You represent your district, and usually your vote reflects the wishes of your district. What happens is you have members who represent moderate to conservative districts, mostly in the South, and in some Rust Belt states. And they are the ones who have joined a caucus called the Blue Dog Caucus, and who tend to be more conservative than the rank and file Democrat. But there's room for them in our caucus, and we are willing to listen to them. Sometimes they get what they want, sometimes they don't. And so, I don't think we've lost our heart to government. I just think it's going to be a little more difficult if the margins narrow.
Any closing comments?
Well, everybody didn't get to ask the question.
Well, they will get you on the way out the door, too.
That'll be fine. Let me thank you for this, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. And no,